Hey, what's going on? Have you heard about our radio show? That's right, there's a medical marijuana radio show, and I do it for you every Thursday night at 8:30. In fact, the podcast is available ahead of time every week, and you can get it at 420lawoffice.com. Just click 420 Radio Show, and you can download the podcast, and you can subscribe by clicking a button, and it's going to show up in your phone or in your iPod. So be sure to check out 420 Law Office Radio. I think you'll find it's rocking. All right. Hello, Stuart Richland here from 420 Law Office and here on the YouTube channel. Thanks for touching base. Well, you know, we've had an interesting love affair with cannabis here in this country. George Washington routinely smoked marijuana to alleviate pain from his ailing teeth. His diary recounts his efforts to better cultivate and enhance his crops. He wanted to try to get sensimilla. Thomas Jefferson grew cannabis on his plantation and smuggled Chinese hemp seeds to America. He also is believed to have given special smoking blends out as personal gifts, which is why he makes the list. James Madison once remarked that hemp gave him insight to create new and democratic ideas, and James Monroe began smoking it as ambassador to France and continued to the age of 73. Andrew Jackson has been documented to have smoked cannabis and tobacco cigars along with the troops he led. Zachary Taylor, like Andrew Jackson, is said to have smoked with his troops in many of his battles. Continuing a popular theme, Franklin Pierce also smoked with his troops as a general in the Mexican-American War. In a letter to his family, he said, "Cannabis is about the only good thing in the war." Abraham Lincoln actually made quotes about enjoying hemp all over the internet. You can find them. In particular, he wrote Hohner Harmonica Company and thanked them for their product and mentioned that he enjoyed smoking sweet cannabis. John Kennedy, according to close acquaintances, used cannabis regularly to control back pain. Jimmy Carter hosted marijuana smoke-filled events at the White House. George Bush publicly refused to answer the marijuana question, but was later caught on tape saying he refused to talk about it because he didn't want some kid trying what he had done. Bill Clinton claimed he didn't inhale but admitted he smoked, and Barack Obama said that he inhaled frequently and that was the point. Now, why does the same federal government now want to incarcerate people who are patients for doing the same thing that all of these presidents have done? The new federal enforcement policy, which is infamous now, has been announced by the federal government, and it states essentially that commercial activity in the area is still a federal felony and that the federal government reserves the jurisdiction to enforce against such activity. And in order to make the point even more, approximately 16 letters, of which I'm aware, were sent to collectives and their landlords in San Diego. And I'm also aware of a Liz pendants that was filed by the federal government with reference to some property in San Bernardino. So there is some teeth behind these rumors, and of course you are advised to govern yourself accordingly. You should see the video of the press release, press conference that was done by our federal enforcement agents. Here it is.
The California Compassionate Use Act was intended to help seriously ill people, but the law has been hijacked by profiteers who are motivated not by compassion, but by money. Even under California law, marijuana cultivation is supposed to be not-for-profit. What we are finding, however, is that people are using the cover of medical marijuana to make extraordinary amounts of money, in short, to engage in drug trafficking. And many of these drug trafficking operations are in plain sight. In many communities, like mine, you can't walk a mile without seeing multiple retail marijuana stores, sometimes surrounded by fences and patrolled by security guards. If you sit and watch for a moment, you see cars pulling over, seemingly young, healthy people jumping out of the cars, running into the store, and emerging with paper bags full of marijuana. Some of these operations allow their customers to smoke marijuana while on the premises. Presumably, at least some of them get back in their cars and drive away, impaired. There is a reason for the security guards and fences. Where there's marijuana, there's money, and lots of it. These places are prime targets for robberies and violence. Despite the fact that these marijuana stores operate in violation of federal law and oftentimes in violation of state law, we simply don't have the resources to address them all. In the Northern District of California, I have decided to focus initially on stores that sell marijuana and allow people to smoke marijuana very close to schools, parks, and other places where children learn and play. Last week, we sent letters to the landlords and lien holders of these stores, putting them on notice that marijuana is being sold and used on their property in close proximity to children, and that the operations must cease. I understand there are people in California who believe marijuana stores should be allowed to exist. But I trust that these same people will all agree we don't need retail marijuana outlets across the street from playgrounds and schools.
And frankly, that doesn't sound unreasonable at all. I think that you'll see that the federal government in general has been more than moderate. Remember, they do have the jurisdiction to have brought in soldiers to shut down medical marijuana ever since day one. They've really been relatively tolerant. I think when you talk about profiteers, people who are within 1,000 feet of sensitive uses, people who are dealing with minors or promote to minors, or who have other illegal drugs or don't pay their taxes and other indicia of unlawful activity, hey, look, they're bad guys. This office, and I hope that my clients acknowledge that so few of them have had trouble, and I think those that follow the rules are less likely to do so. Let's listen to how different the tone was of Eric Holder versus this most recent press conference.
And then a second thing on drugs policy. Right after the inauguration, there were some raids on California medical marijuana dispensaries. Was that a deliberate decision by you, by the Justice Department? Is that a prediction of policy going forward? Do you expect those sorts of raids to continue?
No.
What the President said during the campaign.
Well, what the President said during the campaign, you'll be surprised to know, will be consistent with what we will be doing here in law enforcement. He was my boss during the campaign. He is formally and technically and by law my boss now. And so what he said during the campaign is now American policy. I'm sure, I don't remember what the first question was.
Guantanamo.